Welcome to today our very first StepSistersDPM live podcast where real people share their real food stories with us.
Sorry if we have a little bit of technical difficulties along the way. This is the first time for us, but thank you so much for being here with us. And we are both board-certified podiatrist and foot and ankle surgeon.
Today's guest is Katie. Katie went viral on TikTok when she posted about our foot problem after going to Disney. What started as a little tiny bump turned into an emergency surgery.
We're going to welcome Katie right now.
Here you go.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for being with us and then for agreeing to be the first guest on our podcast. When we saw your story, we thought this was going to be the perfect story. We're going to show the video soon to show you guys the original video that started it all. But I just wanted to see how it started for us. So I was scrolling through my TikTok and then I saw your video come along that you were asking for a podiatrist because you weren't sure if you had to go to the ER or if you had to, you could wait until the next week to go see the podiatrist. You had already contacted the podiatrist, but they were out up until Tuesday, I think, from what I remember. And then you said, please share, please send this to the podiatrist that you know and tell me, should I go to the ER? And then you showed your foot.
Yeah, and everyone went,
Go to the ER!
everybody went into shock. Like, what?
Exactly.
Well, and the thing is, I had already called my podiatrist's office twice at that point, and I was literally looking for just reassurance that I was not overreacting. I wanted someone who was medically trained to say, we are not going to judge you at the ER if you go.
No, definitely not. Definitely not judging. When it looks like that, there's no judging. You have to go to the ER. There's no ifs or buts.
And even when in doubt, sometimes it's just better. So like that, it doesn't get worse and worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. And then we're going to show that video right now, actually, so that everybody can see if everybody's missed it before.
Please help me get this to the right side of TikTok. I'm looking for podiatrists, feet doctors. I've been back from Disney since late Saturday night. I could feel something going on in my shoe when I was walking through the airport on Saturday. And I thought it was just a bunionette. That's what it looked like when I looked up, when I Googled medicine it. Then I called a podiatrist yesterday. They can't see me till Tuesday. Today is Thursday, but I have to show you this. It is to the point where I cannot move my foot. It looks like it's going to explode. And if it does explode, I'm afraid of what comes next. Please help me find a podiatrist. Share, tag podiatrists. I need a podiatrist. Please give me some advice. Because should I go to the ER?
TikTok did its job. It showed it to a bunch of people. How many views did you have on that video?
4.5 million.
Wow.
That's crazy. And then also I answered on it. A few days later, I actually was seeing other doctors that were sharing the video again and then doing a duet to kind of like explain, what's an abscess, when you have to go to the ER and things like that. It went through a lot of people, basically.
I was only expecting like my little 700 people who the 30 that actually listen to me on TikTok. I was like, okay, maybe a podiatrist will see it. I do have like a lot of dentists on my page due to my teeth. And so I just wanted a medical person. And I got more than that. I got like the Grim Reaper. I got the tow truck. Like I got so many comments. And honestly, I'm so glad there were so many funny moments because there were a lot of scary moments.
Oh, for
Definitely.
Sure. For sure.
Oh.
And then you said, I know, so you had 700 followers initially. So how many followers did you gain or how many do you have now?
I have almost 26,000 followers now. And I feel so bad for them.
No, that's great. I think you're an amazing person. They follow your food journey, but they follow also your life,
And it's always been, I'm just Katie the mom.
Exact. Perfect.
They're watching me dig my way out of the mess I made being in the hospital, being gone to Disney. Like, it's just been one thing after another. And I'm like, watch me try to put my life back together. My house is dirty. My trying to get caught back up at work. And it's just not it's not as fun as a big abscess on the side of your foot.
It's interesting. It's attached to you.
Yeah. And we're so happy you're doing so much better now. So can you take us back to the beginning, where it all started? It started at Disney, right?
Well, I went to Disney recovering from pneumonia. And so, but I was still on antibiotics, and I felt awful. And so, but I made it because Disney troopers. So, but on the airport coming home, I felt like my foot was going to explode, but there was no redness. In the airport, I knew something was wrong with my foot. And I was like, man, I've had this bunionette now for years. I always try to put it off. I'm a teacher. They always want to do surgery in the summer. And I'm like, no, I have to be able to swim. So that's not going to work for me either. So I just put it off. And I said, man, this is the final time. I'm going to have to tell Dr. Kokenauer it's time to fix it. Well, I never got to that point, because by the time my appointment was a week out, it was red. Then it had a tiny pinhead. So it just accelerated extremely fast. I don't want people to think I was just hanging out at home growing an infection in my foot. It happened fast, and it's scary how fast it did happen. So I just thought it was my bunionette giving me problems walking through the airport. After you did 20 miles in 2 days and pushing a five-year-old in a stroller most of that way, I just thought, okay, girl, you're not a spring chicken.
We were wondering, were you wearing out new shoes, or did something change, or it was just the extra mileage?
So I brought 3 different pairs of Hokas with me to Disney. One pair I had only had for a week, but I had worn them at work all week long. I have lupus. I really do try to take care of my feet. I don't wear Crocs. I walk marathons. You know what I mean? I really do try to take care of my feet. I do get a new pair of Hokas every time I go to Disney, but I had 3 pairs. And that's the thing, is I wore 3 different pairs of shoes based on what my outfits were.
So you're not sure which one did it. Was there one day that you at the end of the day you were like, ooh, this was painful today, or it just at the airport when you were leaving?
It was coming through Dallas airport. I did have to do a lot of walking.
At least it didn't ruin your time over there, because it just happened afterwards. So that's...
No, it was pneumonia that tried to ruin Disney for me, not my foot.
Tell us what happened after. At first, it looked like a bunionette. It got swollen, 2 little pinpoint. Then it looked more like an abscess. What happened? Take us through that.
So when I got home from the airport, obviously the first thing I did was look at my foot, and I was like, yeah, it was red, but I'm not talking, it was not hot to touch. It was just red. And obviously it'd been in my shoe doing a lot of work that day. So I put it off. But then on Sunday, the pain was still very persistent. So I said, I am going to have to call the podiatrist on Monday. Well, on Monday, I ended up calling my doctor because I still felt really cruddy from the pneumonia. And so I didn't call my podiatrist till Tuesday, when I could no longer just comfortably walk on my foot. I was doing the heel walking all over the house. And since I couldn't get in until the next Tuesday, 1 week, I had my husband go and get a knee scooter for me, so I could go to work the next day. My plan was Wednesday was to go to work. And when I woke up Wednesday, I had that little pinhead of pus. And the pain, again, but I have lupus, so my pain is a little different than people's. So I'm am I being dramatic? People tell me I'm dramatic. So I'm just okay, I'm probably overreacting. So I call the podiatrist. I'm like, hi, I think this is infected. And they're like, well, we can't get you until Tuesday. And granted, my podiatrist was not in office. So I was going to see somebody different anyway. And I was like, well, if anybody cancels, call me. And they were like, if it gets worse, go to the ER. So the next day I'm watching it. It is worse, but it's still tolerable. I'm not dying. Well, I didn't think I was. And so that's when I was and I was not even that I was worried about the infection. I was worried about it busting and then it being able to get infected. My brain was never thinking, oh, this infection that's already there is serious. Like dumb. But I'd been on antibiotics this entire time for pneumonia. So I'm just like, I'm already on antibiotics. I'm like, what's the big deal? And then I was just like, I think it's time. I just need reassurance. I didn't need 4.5 million reassurances. But the thing is, the first like 2 comments were like, go to the ER. And I was like, then I was getting dressed, getting changed. But the comments were coming so fast that I was like, okay, now I'm going to document my journey. And then people said, well, why didn't you tape them draining it the first time? Well, I was in extreme pain. I had no pain medication. It was literally wham, bam. I was out in 20 minutes. After they finally saw me, when they saw me, between draining my foot and sending me home, happened in 20 minutes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're watching the progression live of how everything looked before you went to the ER. And it looks like you went to the ER, it got drained, and then it got worse again.
Oh, it came back with a vengeance. So if you look at Wednesday, you can see the infection, obviously. And then Thursday, it is the video that went viral when people were like, and but Tuesday it just looks like a bump. It just looks like a bunionette, just a red. And then that's what it looked like Friday morning. So that's what I'm saying. When I woke up Friday morning, I didn't immediately go to the ER because I wanted to take my antibiotics and let the antibiotics do their job. And then it's like, no. And everyone, instead of being like, go back to the ER, people are like, it's not doses.
It's not rounds, it's doses. So that's crazy. Rounds and it's fine.
I was like, that's the whole reason I'm not medical. I'm just telling you guys, I'm taking my medicine correctly and it's not fixing it. It's only getting worse.
Let me play out what it looked like after you getting it drained in the ER, you being on oral antibiotics, and how it still got bad. So that's within 1 day. So at 1 p.m., you see that there's a little bulla, a little sac of fluid. At 4:30, it's getting bigger, filled again. At 9 p.m., it's even more red, more filled. So even though you were on antibiotics, it was getting worse. And the reason why is because you had a deep abscess. And deep abscess won't work just by doing an aspiration or taking antibiotics.
I was so surprised that they released you. Because, if you had come at, our hospital and I had seen you, I'd be like, this is getting admitted. It's not somebody that I'm just going to be like, oh yeah, take some antibiotics at home and you're fine. No, this was already infected enough to warrant an admission. That's just so important to do that.
See, you're having some support over here. Rachel is saying, oh, so disappointed that the medical community, it was so hard for you to get the proper treatment, and she's glad you're okay now.
Well, and Rachel, it's so many things. It's health insurance. It's right now I'm cooking a video that shows what it costs to go to Disney versus what it cost me to spend that week in the hospital and 2 trips to the ER. Because again, I'm just a normal school teacher. I have health insurance, but that's a different video for a different day. But it really is. It is a decision that could bankrupt you.
Yeah, it's a real concern.
Yeah, especially in this country also. It's a real concern because we have to pay to get seen, to get care. I mean, we have access to care, which is good. That's a whole other discussion for another time.
Well, and that's what so many of my comments are. Because this video has obviously been seen in Canada and people in Australia. I love talking to all these people and they're just like, what is wrong with your healthcare system? I'm like, that's a different podcast.
Why don't we show some of the comments that you have? Let's play that.
And then the comments started popping off. Things like, I'm a librarian, go to the ER. Air traffic controller, go to the ER. Cat lady here, go to the ER. But let me show you my favorites. I also have feet, go to the ER. My grandson is a first grader, go to the ER. I'm a French hornist, go to the ER. I ran the screenshot through ChatGPT, who said, go to the ER immediately. Just woke up from a 25-year coma.
go to urgent care. But winner chicken dinner by far is simply call a tow truck.
It's good that now you're able to laugh about it because it's a very scary situation. But yeah, the comments were funny.
When I told Madden, my 5-year-old, who's like the star of my TikTok, normal life, it's just me, mom, and Madden, because I have this pandemic surprise baby. He's much younger than all of my other children, so a lot of time it's just mom and Madden. But he was like, I don't understand why people want to watch you talk about your foot. I was like, because infections are scary and people need to know, go to the ER. Trust and go to the ER. You can ask advice, but at the end of the day, go to the ER. Even if they send you home, go back.
Exactly. These are few things that we tell our patient when to go to the ER. Of course, if you have fevers or if you're feeling unwell, you're not feeling like yourself. But if you have like spreading redness, you had that little spot, but when it's greater than 2 centimeters, that's an infection spreading. If you have pain out of proportion, and in your case, you had like difficulty walking, it was, only walking on your heel, and also worsening despite taking antibiotics, that all happened to you. So it was a great thing that you went back.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, I should have gone earlier, but I still think I would have ended up back on Friday because it was not being treated aggressively enough for what it was.
That was my next question, actually. I was wondering, you went to the ER, had aspiration, and then left with some antibiotics, and then came back the next day or 2 days after.
It was literally 24 hours later. So because I have this 5-year-old, I can't just like disappear to the ER, So I also have a 23-year-old daughter. So when Caitlin got home from work, I headed to the ER both times. And again, because I was on antibiotics, I did want to give them time. Like I didn't want to just show right back up. So the guy asked me if I was a vampire since I came 2 nights in a row to the ER. And I was like, no, I'm a mom. And like, I have to square away the 5-year-old before I can show up to the ER. And he was just like, okay. And he was like, so what are you expecting? I'm like, I'm expecting that I need some antibiotics through my IV. At least that's what TikTok's saying. So, and that was the other thing. People can hate, but there was so much advice that I got from TikTok that helped me advocate for myself. Because not only when I was finally admitted, I spent 2 days, and it was Easter weekend. So I forgive like timing. I understand I am not the only person in the hospital. I am very aware of all of that. But I spent 2 days sitting in the hospital room with nothing, no cultures, no nothing. And so finally on Sunday, I wanted to be transferred to a different hospital, especially after being sent home and like, here we go. And I had to advocate for seeing someone that would relieve the pain in my foot. I'm so glad they didn't just let it bust open on its own. And I don't know how far away we really were from that, because if you show that video, the day that they finally came and drained it, I will never, ever be more grateful to anyone than I am to Dr. Morgan, because Dr. Morgan literally put me out of my misery on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you came into an aspiration.
And so many CCs.
Oh my God, yeah,
Yes.
that syringe is full. And then what I was wondering is that your podiatrist, when you finally saw him, when he came back from his vacation, what did he say? What was he like? What happened?
On Tuesday, he walked in at 7 a.m. So I know I was like the first person he came to see. Thank you, Dr. Morgan, for that too. And he came right in, and I was in surgery before noon. So I was having surgery before noon. I don't even think he was worried about what started it, where it came from. Just when he saw it, he was like, yeah. And he went and that's what he told me afterwards, is he had to go really deep. So I'm just so glad. Ugh.
I think that's what people don't understand. Abscess are like an iceberg. What you see is only the top of it. Abscess can really spread through the compartment. It can go up tendon. They can also form little pocket of pus. So just to do an aspiration, yes, it can decrease the pain, take out some of that pressure, but it's not going to clean everything out. So you really need to have a full surgery, like an incision and drainage, clean out, take deep cultures, and get proper antibiotics to treat it. But antibiotics itself, it's not gonna cut it.
I have to say thank you now because all of it's over. But to make sure that it healed properly, again, I have lupus. So I'm also like a weird autoimmune unicorn as well. So Dr. Kokenauer put me on the Wound VAC for 3 days, the last 3 days that I was in the hospital. And I honestly think that is what has led to such a quick healing. I'm just so thankful because my cultures didn't show any like answers. There's no definitive answers to what caused this. Most people think it was pneumonia that traveled. I didn't know things like that could even happen.
It can be hematogenous soft tissue infection.
And then you already have bunionette that you've been wanting to treat for a long time. And then you went to hot Florida, your feet probably got swollen, and then if it had like more friction in your shoe gear, and then maybe that shoe that was a little bit newer, even though you had wore it at home versus humidity in Florida and walking a lot
10 miles a day,
it rubs for sure. And then also because of your lupus, your immune system is just not working as hard as it should, and then just kind of this perfect storm, it just blew up.
Definitely a perfect storm. It's just like, I would say the only thing that annoyed me through the whole thing were people trying to tell me I had a spider bite. And I had to like say a million times, this is not a spider bite. Matter of fact, like, there was no blister. There was nothing. Like, very much fully inspected my foot when I got at home from the airport. You know what I mean? Like, there was no cut. There was nothing, but no cultures that ever came back to tell us what was the actual cause, and that is frustrating.
Sometimes also it might be because you were already on antibiotics. So because you were already on antibiotics for so long before they took the cultures, that might be the reason why this happened, because it was killing some stuff, but it still needed to have that debridement to get all of the yucky stuff out. We wanted to also over what a wound vac is. A wound vac is it's a machine that gets attached to a wound. And usually it's used for deeper wounds. It helps the wound to recover and to heal from the bottom up, because it's attached to a machine, there's tubing, and there's a suction basically that's going, and then it can suction any drainage. It can be used for people that have drainage, but also sometimes even if the wound is not draining that much, really to have that negative pressure helps granulation tissue, which is just like healthy tissue, grow from the bottom up. And then it's so useful for deep wounds. I use it all the time in my practice.
We usually use that for patients who are neuropathic, meaning they don't have sensation in their feet, but you have sensation in your feet. I was like, oh my God, this must have been so painful to put in on an open wound and remove it. How was your experience with that?
Well, this is the worst pain I've ever had in my life. I will tell you that. I've had 5 children. I had kidney stones. I have had mouth surgery, and I will take all of those things over ever needing a wound vac again. But I am so grateful for what it does. I just can't imagine. So many people have reached out to me who have been through similar situations that it didn't go as well for them. People who have lost feet, people who have lost toes, people who've lost legs. And the wound vac generating that good tissue, especially when I am a lupus person, like, you just never know how I'm going to heal, how I'm going to react to anything. I don't follow any norms, medical norms. And so to have this, I healed well. I healed really well. I'm a big proponent, like, yes, get the wound vac, and just hopefully you have a kind person to do it.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah, so you do it often, like Dr. Richard was saying, like on people that already have neuropathy. So usually they don't feel anything,
You're
they
right.
have wounds, and we clean up their wounds and they're fine. But that's what, on occasion, we have to do something on somebody that actually has feeling.
Yeah, it breaks our heart, but we know how good they work and how worth it is. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was
And
worth it for you too.
Was it painful? So just when they were applying it, or also when you had it and then, it was like sucking, or just the dressing changes?
No, it literally was, the application was excruciating. Like I'm telling you, and they gave me morphine. It did not help. Like, I don't know if that's just not a good local, like, you know what I mean? They thought it was just going to numb my brain. No, you could not numb that pain. And it gave me so much anxiety the day I had to have it taken off, and that they came in and gave me the morphine right before they took it off. And it was I don't want to be like, oh, it was a pleasant, but it was like having an IV removed is what I would like. It wasn't bad. And having it on, besides like having to take it with me to the bathroom, I didn't even notice it. You know what I mean? Like you would sometimes like feel it, like if it would get something, because I didn't have a lot of drainage. It literally was just to help me to build that new tissue back. And so it wasn't unpleasant during, and it wasn't the worst taking it off. I promise you, I'm not that over dramatic, but putting it on, yes, but I would put it on again. Like, if something else had happened to me, I would never not get a wound vac, because healing sometimes means a little bit of pain.
We do have a little video from the beginning, and now it's slowly, you can see that it's like slowly closing. The redness is starting to decrease as well. You can see some dry skin is not as taut. It was starting to heal, but my favorite healed video is this one.
Back to normal.
Back to normal, getting a pedicure. I guess you got discharged. Your doctor said, okay, you're all good to go.
I was like exactly 1 month out from leaving the hospital. So like 5 weeks is what it took before I was actually like, he was like, okay, you're all closed up. You're good to go. That day I wanted to like go swimming and do all the things, but it's still really like the skin itself is really like, like that new baby skin. So going to get a pedicure was actually scary for me.
You can always do also some foot care at home. I think we're going to do videos about that, because a lot of people are scared to go to get a pedicure. There's no regulation. So I think to also teach how to do it at home. I'll see we have somebody saying like, glad it healed. What an experience. Yeah, literally. We agree. Yeah.
I never want it to happen again. That is for sure. And I now am like an advocate for not sleeping on infections.
Yeah, you could have gone much sicker. Did you ever had a fever?
So that is the thing, is having that I had pneumonia. I had not run a fever since Saturday, but on Saturday I was running a fever coming through the airport. So, but I didn't run a fever Sunday. I did, and that is even what is worse, is because when you don't have a fever, you're just like, I would have a fever. If I was really sick, my body would have to be letting off energy. Like, I would have to be having a fever. I can't be that sick. I'm overreacting. You're not.
Do you remember the antibiotics that you were on for that pneumonia?
I could not tell you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't bring my list of drugs.
But it's just something to like mention to people, because oftentimes people think that I'm on antibiotics, I'm fine. But then the bugs that say like from our mouth, from our chest, our lungs, and our skin are completely different. Depending the type of bugs, an antibiotics that you take for something else is not going to cover everything.
So for my, I was on one set of antibiotics, and the day that I went to the ER, they were like, we need to give you skin. They literally said, we need to give you skin antibiotics. And I was like, okay, I don't need my IV.
Like I said earlier, our hospital, you would have been admitted from the beginning and then get surgery, from the beginning. Is there a lot of podiatrists where you are?
I live in Lawton. It is a military community around here. So we do have like 100,000 people. Maybe 75,000. I might be. But like, we have 2 little towns that support right outside of here. We don't have a lot of options. And a matter of fact, the day that I was going back to the hospital, I would not have gone back to my personal hospital in my town, but we were having tornadoes. So I could not drive to Oklahoma City because, you know, I needed treatment, but I didn't need treatment. Like I wasn't dying. So we'll see. Like I'm still saying that. I understand an infection can kill you quickly, but in my mind, a tornado can too.
Exactly. Definitely. Yeah.
Completely.
I think that's a good thing to point out too, that abscess can lead to the bacteria going into your bloodstream. So to get sepsis, which is life-threatening, and also it can go sometimes to your bone. But I don't think in your case, it didn't go inside your bone, right?
No, but the first night I was there, they did do a CBC panel on me, just like basic blood work, draw up. And she literally said to me, well, you're basically borderline septic. And I'm like, if I was borderline, why wouldn't you just play it safe? I was never treated for any sepsis, just cellulitis. That's what it says on my discharge papers, is I had cellulitis.
Did you have an MRI when you were there?
Yes. I started with x-rays, and my MRI came after I threw my fit. So I threw my heinous fit about a lot of things on Sunday, Easter Sunday. I decided to, you know, crash out basically on everyone and demand to be transferred. And that is when, like I said, Dr. Morgan came. Once Dr. Morgan came, then we were doing an MRI, and I was moved out of the room with the toilet in the room. Like it just, a lot changed fast.
We have a video of that. I actually love that video. Look at that.
Do you want the house tour? I could take you to the first, second, third floor.
You show the toilet at the end.
That one is my favorite. Like that was my
Yeah, me too. I love it.
I love TikTok. Like there's just no other way to say it. I love TikTok. I watch for all the funny stuffs. I love seeing people's outfits. I love having random information about like ankle strengthening because my daughter's a ballerina. I just think there's so much that if I want 20 minutes to myself, you'll find me doom scrolling on my porch. So I love Sabrina Carpenter. I was excited to make that video. Matter of fact, I made my 23-year-old daughter video and she was like, Mom. And I was like, it's cute. She was like, it is fire. And I was like, yeah, girl.
Oh, yeah, it is fire.
We love to do an outfit of the day when we're at Disney. Like I'd share my life online.
Closing, is there anything that you think you would change or you did differently or something that you want to tell the audience that you've learned?
Okay, so like some words of wisdom from Katie the mom. So I will say this. I got a lot of hate, as most people do when they go viral, from people who said, what do you mean you didn't know to go to the ER? I think two things can be true. You can advocate for yourself and allow other people to reassure you. At no time was I substituting real medical advice for TikTok medical advice. But again, I do share my life online a lot. So the fact that I was able to reach people, and this just happens to be my 15 minutes, then I know that you can come to the internet for help.
Yes, I
Don't
mean,
substitute it
the
for
internet told you to go and then they told you to go back. You know, like you went to the ER,
And
you
then
tried
they
to get
told me
help,
I was
and you were set back.
Everybody was giving good advice. Also with like my fingers, like there's just so many things that people were pointing out or talking about. So I would say also I got a lot more good out of all of the bad. So don't be afraid to share your life online either, because I have met some wonderful people. I love following you guys now. And I'm just so excited that you even invited me to be here today. So definitely don't be afraid to share your life online, but at the same time, don't substitute it for medical advice.
For sure.
Agreed. Thank you so much, Katie, for being here today to share that story so openly and decide to come on the live. We really, really appreciate you. This is an important story to share, right? Because there's a lot to learn and we can educate people. Now people know, hopefully, when to go to the ER so it doesn't get that bad. And then we also want to put all your socials down below so people can follow you. Not only you'll see and dive deeper into the food story, but Katie is a mom, she's a teacher, she's an amazing person. Overall, you're going to love following her. And thank you everybody for listening today, and join us for our next podcast where we're going to talk about food stories about real people.
Just remember, our feet are so important.
Better steps, better life.
All right. Bye,
Okay,
Katie.
bye.
Thank you guys.